like this education thing, and I know we'll go into the education. So they were like, what do you mean by local, teachers should use L1, which is a mother tongue, as a medium of instruction for early grades. And that, is it everybody who understands the mother tongue? And yet you know that the research has shown that if you are able to use the language a child understands in the early grade to explain simple concepts, they are more grounded in the learning and in the concepts. Then a big journalist goes like, how do you go and teach chemistry in local language?
Oh, it was a journalist that was making a comment.
There is a morning show. That how do you go and teach chemistry in a local language? And that, do we even think through these things? These are not contested matters. To use a language a child understands, to teach the child, are not contested matters. They are established, matters with regards to the right ways of inculcating knowledge. Now, does it mean that every teacher in every school might understand the local language? No. But it is a policy that we must implement. And we must start from somewhere. So start with the teachers that understand the local language in the early grade, and let those teachers use the local language and it's not like that's what they're going to use alone. They're teaching English, they're teaching other subjects in English. But when you explain a concept in English, you must explain it also in the dominant language that the students or the pupils or the learners in that class also understand. So please, if we really want to build this nation, we must quickly switch our mindset to solutions offering, rather than pointing out all the ways in which an idea cannot work.
Let's deal with briefly on the language for instruction in school.
Again, I've seen people try to distort the message. The internal logic of that message is that if you are a teacher in a school made up of learners that predominantly speak a certain language, their local language, and so if you are a teacher in Wa, the understanding is that perhaps you either speak Wali or Sisala, depending on the location of the school and even the language of your teacher. You see, when there's a policy, there's an application of that policy. And it is those at the point that are able to implement that policy that can obey that policy. So it's illogical to say that, how about teachers who don't speak the language? If you are a teacher that you find yourself in a classroom that you don't speak the predominant language, you will have to teach in English. That is the practicality of it. Until such time as GES is able to deploy teachers that speak. In Accra here, there is a shortage of Dangbe teachers. They know it. So there are schools in Ga land here in Accra that teach Twi as the local language, because we don't even have enough Ga teachers. So obviously this policy to use the mother tongue of the students will not apply. In urban centers where the students would come from various parts of the country and would probably speak various languages. And even the worrying trend now is that the young people today are not learning their mother tongue. It is really like English. In those particular situations, the predominant language that is understood by all is what the teacher, that is what will be the primary language of instruction. Now, a teacher in their training is taught to look out for the peculiarities of the learners in their classroom. So for instance, if I know that you speak Twi, and I can speak Twi as a teacher, and I'm explaining a concept that you don't understand, it is the teacher's duty to now communicate in the language that the child understands, that the teacher also understands, to break down the concepts. Because even though classroom sizes may be large, teaching is supposed to be individualistic. Even though you stand and teach a subject, you must be interested in the learning journeys of each student in your class, as much as is humanly possible. So when you go to some communities, it is not a problem. The teacher speaks the local language, and the majority, if not all, of the learners in that classroom also speak the local language. In that case, whereas you would teach in English, you would explain concepts also in the local language. So let's not distort good intentioned policies. He gave an example of how a teacher was using English to teach, and the child said, "Teacher, mpacho katri kakrana menti asie." The child didn't even need to have said that. Because, as I said earlier, it is a determined fact that a child will learn quicker in the mother tongue than he would if you introduce a foreign language too quickly to the child. And that's why, because even in homes now, we are not speaking our local languages to the children, they are now losing out on even their local language.
China, you know that English teaching profession is one of the highest or the most sought after in China.
Yes,
that's
now,
because they don't use English language to teach the
so let me
students
tell you, a lot of their older leaders who studied in Chinese still do not speak English. But look at where they have taken their country to. So now a lot of the English is becoming a subject that is taught. But even if you went to China for an undergrad or a postgrad or a PhD, you are expected to learn Chinese as a subject course. And you must pass it to graduate, as some of the students shared with us. So please, it is a good intended policy. And it is for the GES to see how it implements this policy. Look, in Finland, a teacher stays in the classroom, so the students have the same classroom teacher for at least 6 years. For at least 6 years. You cannot be a basic school teacher without high qualification. And that's how their learning outcomes is what they are. We have lots of lessons from other UNICEF. All these things are data-backed programs and policies and encouraged so that we can catch up with the early grade math and, English assessment. Because if a child is not able to understand the concepts, it becomes difficult for them. So nobody is saying that replace English with local language. But instruct also your subject in local language, especially when you know that the students you are teaching are challenged.
Okay. So let me read this.
And this is basic. It's from kindergarten, early grade, kindergarten to nursery to kindergarten. By the time they get to lower primary, if we're doing things right, they should be able to catch up. Because now we do have a problem of reading and literature generally. At the university, at secondary schools, some cannot even string any good grammatically correct, sentence. So that is problematic. And it speaks to the quality of our teaching, and teaching materials right from the basic level. So please.
I want to read this one. Laura Nweke, good morning to you. But he says that, greetings, Annie, the issue of low cuts is a historical fact. The message was not just about skin color. It was about making sure that everything aid breaking the spirit and destroy the self-worth of self-esteem of the colonized. So this is true, both with the European and Arab colonizations. So the policy is clear and has to be followed, but the spirit behind it has to be investigated. That's his point. And I think I agree with that. Samuel Brian says that, Annie, as a country, we major in the minors. Even my daughters, who wear their natural locks, were met with unnecessary attitudes at their new schools. Samuel Brian Boabing is the one that is. I don't know, we have a certain perception about locks, about the natural hair.
Certain style of hair.
And that is also what we have to try and...
I have natural hair.
We need to get used to that. And I think, for me, that has been...
No, it's not even about the natural hair.
My campaign point.
And all those.
That has been my campaign, my campaign point. As a Pan-Africanist, let's love that. And let's not be too, hard on ourselves. Because it looks like most of us are still getting used to the fact that when you see a young boy, a young girl trying to keep their hair locked or natural,
Yeah, they are
we still
rascals.
have that kind of, I don't know.
And you may not even get a job,
You
even
know,
as an adult.
yes.
You
We
try
still
to-
have that.
So, I mean,
those
those
of
ones I
us with
agree
the
we
voice,
must, you know,
exactly, are trying to
challenge
push
those mindsets.
that agenda.
Where we are
That
starting
is
it
why
from.
we think
Exactly.
that we don't
We need
say,
to build
let
it
the
up.
girls come to school wearing a wig like I'm wearing, or
course.
doing all kind of beauty
Of course
things.
not.
But let's also be careful to not push them out of loving
So,
the
it is,
kinky.
so it's perhaps the messaging that must, or the communication that
Exactly.
must go with this
Exactly.
policy. The communication must be an empowering communication that focuses
Not to
on
obey
your
before complaining
convenience,
conversation.
you know, the convenience, your time management, you know, to make school life easier for you, because they know, even with Afro, you know, as an adult, how difficult it is to when you have to wash, you need to stretch. Dandruffs are worrying you because it is not an easy thing to manage an Afro hair. It's difficult.
Shamima,
Shamima, that's why you just don't say that it's a
the
rule,
truth,
just follow it.
No, you see, the truth is
Right?
that
That's why you just don't say it's a rule, just follow it.
you also have to let them understand.
So
Yes.
the schools need
You
to
have let
explain
them
all
understand.
of that, so that they come into it with an embracing, you know, approach more, not
With
see it as a punitive,
the
you know,
more
thing.
loose hair as the whites have, people think that they also don't have similar problems.
Oh,
that
they
we
have
do.
similar
They do.
problems.
They do. They have dandruff. They have all kinds of things. You know, but
Brittleness, the breaks,
yes,
you know.
because of colonization, we sort of we're losing the love for ourselves, including the skin color, including our hair type, and it is
The
also
skin
what
color
we
is
have to be
another
careful about.
conversation.
And it all starts from the childhood.
Please, you people now
Skin
are
color is
buying
another
human
conversation.
wigs to put on your hair on a
Which
daily basis,
people?
and you say we shouldn't talk about you adults. So
No,
give
we're
these
not saying don't talk
children
about
a
it.
break. The children,
We're
you
not
are
saying-
buying human hair, and
No.
putting it. They are going to temples and gathering people who have sacrificed their
Now, why are
hair.
you taking this
and
conversation to?
She's overstretching,
so in
allow
it-
her.
No,
Why are you
I'm
taking
not
this
overstretching.
conversation?
Allow
Now
her.
who is
She
getting
said, no. She said colonization. You want to blame colonization, whatever it is you want to blame this morning. And I'm saying that it is this multi-billion-dollar industry that
No,
is
but
being
you
powered
see,
by
it's
the
also
African
because
woman.
I'm
Are
not-
you saying
It's
that
also
it
because
has
you don't
links?
build the girl's identity
From the
scratch.
Uh-huh.
So they
she
lose
grows
their
up
identity as they
now
grow up.
loving.
Exactly.
No, they are following you, the parents.
Following who?
If you know better, because you cannot.
You?
We
They are
cannot
following you?
continue. If you know better, do better, and set the right example
parents
to
today,
your children.
Parents today,
and invest
hold
in
on.
their self-worth
Parents
and
today
self-belief.
suffered. Parents today who are looking all glamorous with borrowed hair or with whatever, however you want to put it.
With dead people's
just
hair.
borrowed hair.
Yes.
Some are dead people's hair. I hope you know.
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
They
Hold
go
on.
and buy dead people's
Parents
hair.
who are what they are today
No, but if-
suffered. I'm
No,
sorry.
but you
I'm
see how
sorry.
this hair is
I'm sorry.
processed.
I want to make
You'll
the
be
point.
interested.
They suffered the same thing growing up. And that is why they are an
to let them
example to
build
their
their
children.
identity.
So
Love
when
their hair.
we have
And
an
you are making
opportunity
very wrong
to
assumptions.
no, I'm not making an assumption.
That
It's a
parents
reality.
they suffered
yes,
what?
They suffer the same thing.
What?
In terms of what not being taught their values, how to love themselves. It's the same thing they suffer. That's why you see.
We are very
so
terrible
if
about
today we
building
have
our
a
identity.
generation
That one we
that
must
probably
admit.
have more insights and are opening their eyes, let's all be in the campaign. I'm guilty. Everybody else is guilty.
But look at the struggle we even have with wearing prints.
Yes. You know, that conversation
struggle we
can
have
be
with
stretched
every-
all the way.
Yourselves from
Mental slavery.
Shamima, what you are wearing, is it African?
What?
What you are wearing, is it African?
Yes, it's African. For concern girl.
You know, she was on my head.
You see,
She was
you
on
are
my
on my
head.
head, but
Me
you
too,
see,
I can
I'm
be
not-
on your
I
shoes.
want to challenge me about.
No,
You
I'm
know,
not
I wear
I'm not-
99% of
I'm
my
not-
wardrobe is African
As I sit
print.
here today, 50%
You know
of
that
my
once in a while.
50% of my
The
I said
messages I'm
99% of my
receiving, very
wardrobe.
interesting.
You don't wear
Let's
African
all
print.
help.
I wear
What am-
African
what am I
print.
wearing?
It's only
Hey.
today I've seen you wearing African
I wear more
print.
African print than any.
So let it be known that
Yeah.
we don't want the children to be looking scruffy,
Let them
dirty,
love
whatever, in
their
discipline
identity.
in school. some of us, I don't know about others, but some of us, we are also just pushing.
Now, the areas
the
of indiscipline are not even
agenda.
around issue of hair,
but
it's issues of behaviors.
But
It's
that's how it
issues
all
of
starts.
what they are
But that's what the
consuming.
minister said.
It's what they are
That's why it's-
consuming
that's-
now.
that's
They are
what it's all-
taking
that's what it's all
they are taking ammunition to school. They are taking knives to school. They are killing each other. They are engaged in all kinds of
those are issues we should
serious
deal with.
matters. So the PTA return is very important. But even as we also say that, let me just add that we don't expect head teachers to begin to abuse this, PTA
No, but
system,
you see,
because there are guidelines
Shamima.
to what PTA
Shamima.
can do. Can I just finish this thought? To what PTAs can do and what school management can do. So please do not allow this, confidence that the minister is reposing and the power he wants to give back to parents, because you are key stakeholders, school managers, parents, and then government. We are the stakeholders that transform and reform our education. So please do not see it as another avenue to extort or to distort or to abuse.
As they're already doing.
Because if you do, the law will catch up with you very stringently. Please, please.
So, Annie, this conversation on local language, and did I hear the minister, correct me, did I hear the minister say it's compulsory to use the local language
Yes.
to do the instruction? This conversation came up when the current vice president was education minister.
Nana Jane, yes.
You remember it came
Yes.
up strongly, and there were conversations about what is our national language and all that. We talk about places like China and other places that they have national languages. So it's easy to have a language of instruction and use English as a second language. Ghana, what is our national language?
We don't have a
We
choice
don't
yet.
have a national language. And looking at the number of languages we have, even this morning when you were asking how welcome or is said in the north, she said a different one, I said a different. So even in that enclave, part of they are over what? When you go to my region like this, when we're pushing for the creation of the region, we realize we have more than 30 languages within that.
But I think the
region.
number
But
of
there's a
languages we
major-
have should not be a problem, because, like she said, if you're making a policy, sometimes you look at largely, or you consider the majority, well, like the one that has a bigger
Honey,
percentage,
Even with the languages that we have, they are different variations. When I speak Gonja, the person who speaks Gonja from Bole, the person who speaks Gonja from Salaga, the person who speaks Gonja from Kosogo, from Deba, they are different, even different accents and different words. I want to believe it's same for the other dialect. I think Wale and Dagare have similar, have some common.
It's like
word,
Fanti and Chi.
Exactly, So we need to be very careful, because words mean differently in different languages. I didn't grow up in Savannah now, should I say, in Gonjaland, but I speak Gonja. I remember the first time I even went for a meeting on Legon campus. The assumption was that I couldn't speak the language. But my mom and my parents did very well. We spoke it, even from the second. But now we are struggling with it, because we've gotten to a level where it's just us and our children. But growing up, at every point in time, you had one relative or the other in there that you could speak the language with and pick it up. So we're having a challenge. So we need to be careful. Is this solely just for the purpose of grasping concepts when it comes to our subjects? Or is it a matter of our children having an identity or being able to speak their local languages? We need to be able to draw the line between that. And like Shamima said, there are certain places that the native language teachers are not there. And we move teachers around. We train teachers across the country. Teachers speak all kinds of languages. So we really need to look at it carefully.
Okay, I'm sure it was
in the respect of making it compulsory.
I'm sure it was one of the
when it
policies
comes to
that were
some of
discussed
these
when they
things.
did
So-
the educational forum discussions. I'm sure some of these suggestions came on board, and that is why they've come to this conclusion. And
But,
so let's see how the policy is designed.
If we limit it, at just the education forum thing, because I also think that we also need to enhance our stakeholder engagements. Yes,
we're not limiting. That's why we discuss these things on the platform.
What I'm saying is that we are having, yes, we have scarce resources and everything, but there was education forum to discuss some of these things over the years. We have forums that specific people go for some of these things. Their opinions may not necessarily be the larger. So when it comes to some of these touchy issues that have bearings on national language issues, ethnicity issues, we need to hesitate in making them compulsory. I mean, has it been piloted? Has it been broader discussions in our communities? Or we are just limiting it to just the forum that was held and the outcomes?
Okay.
How many people were there? Who made those interventions?
Okay. So all right. We have a few minutes, so I need to